Some of us were raised by narcissistic parents or emotionally unavailable parents, emotionally immature parents, nasty energies. Didn't have very many compliments for you, didn't have a lot of attention for you. You served a purpose, but it wasn't to be loved, to be nurtured. And maybe it was to make sure they had a clean house, or that they could get the benefits from the military or the state. Maybe you just happened to be the kid that they had, and so they deal with you. And you grew up in an environment that wasn't filled with a lot of nurturing compliments. You weren't pretty or handsome, or you weren't a good kid, but everything that you did do that was problematic or they had an issue with, those were highlighted. Those were the big points, things that you needed to work on, they didn't like about you. And you absorb that. And then you go into your adult life and you do the things that you're expected to do, get a job, go to work, for the government, or go to work for a company and try to stay there as long as possible. Maybe you have some relationships, we get married. And then we find out, most of us are finding out the people that we married are a lot like our parents, but not quite. Still narcissistic, maybe a little bit more emotionally available or intelligent, but still manipulative and mean. But better than what we came from. So it's better. And then when those relationships end, we're left feeling empty. Like, what is my purpose? Why is this happening to me? Why am I insignificant? Nobody cares about me. Nobody cares whether or not I'm loved or what happens to me. And so it's almost like learned helplessness, but in a different way. You take all of that negative energy and it becomes who you are. And for some of us with the narcissistic parents, that's exactly what they wanted for you. They don't want you to be anything more than what they are. As opposed to people who come from healthy households where your parents want you to be better. They want you to be good. They want you to shine. They fill you with love. They fill your cup. And then you go out into the world and you do great things, or you do mediocre things, but it's okay because it's what you wanted to do. And they support you either way. Those people, we look at them, we're like, man, they're lucky. I wish I had that, but here I am just living this life. I have no impact. You do. The message is, you do. Some of us go through very rough childhoods, adulthoods. We go through these rough periods and it molds us. It doesn't break us though. We do take all of that in and it manifests as depression and anxiety. We're never good enough. We have a lot of negative self-talk because we never really heard positive talk. We didn't get that nurturing. We didn't get that uplifting. And so we're in our adulthood and we're figuring out that those things are not going to come from other people. They have to come from within us. We do really have to do some hard work, that shadow work. We have to go within and kind of process, where's all this coming from? I do have a purpose, I just don't know what it is. Nobody really helped me figure out who I was or told me that I could be anything other than what I am. How do I get there? You get there. You get there through therapy sometimes. Sometimes some of us have gone into this spiritual journey and we really have had to quiet the voice within and hear the voice of the divine. And I've said before in other videos, once you know true love, once you know love of the divine, there is nothing better. There is a shift in your mindset, in the way that you speak to yourself, that says, God, man, if God loves me, if the divine loves me, then none of this other stuff was true. I've got to do something different. I am significant. My words do matter. My presence matters. And you do. You have to know it. You got to walk in it, even if you're not certain. You got to walk in it. So when you go about your day and you start to hear those negative thoughts creep in, remember that you are loved, that your presence, even if it's just the barista or someone at Target, and you tell them thank you, when they smile and they say, hey, you're welcome, thank you. You look at the face and you say, all I said was thank you, and they smiled. That is an impact. That is a kindness that goes a long way. We never know what type of day someone else is having. And the fact that you have come through adversity, you have come through some of the hardest times where other people have turned to drugs, they're drinking, they've turned into their parents. They are literally just a walking negative, nasty energy, as opposed to working on their healing. You didn't choose that. You chose to continue on this path to live this life and try to be good to people. So keep that in mind when you question your purpose, you question the impact of your presence. The smallest interactions. Sometimes it's just holding the door for someone or saying, hey, how you doing today? And they talk to you for a minute about their grandkids or their dog or whatever it is. You have impact. You have loving hearts. You have kindness in your spirit. And nobody took that away from you. So as you give to others, as those small acts of kindness for others, remember to do them for yourself. Remember to speak to yourself kindly. Remember that you are loved, that the divine loves you so much. You've had a rough journey. It got you to where you are. Things are about to open up. We do have to do the healing. We do have to acknowledge his greatness, his love, or hers, in our lives. And remember, that translates into something so beautiful once we embrace it. So be kind to yourselves. Be kind to others. And enjoy this day.